Hey girl, hey. Welcome back to another episode of the Hype Coach podcast. I'm your host, Al-Chami. And today we're going to talk about why we tend to lose ourselves and then we end up panicking about it. Mid last year, I held my first self-love summit. And what I found out of all the topics that I surrounded myself with and I brought towards the community and I brought forth, this topic specifically stood out. Because a lot of people, I think society, I think our communities, we tend to hyperfixate and hold on to staying the same. And then we panic about when we change. So I really want to ask you something, and I really want you to think about it. If I took away your job, I took away your relationship, I took away your aesthetic, I took away your title, right? Your responsibilities. I took away all of that. I stripped you down to your core. Who are you? And when I held this summit, the self-love summit, like the whole event sold out. I had like random people coming to the door on the day and like begging to come in. So I was like, hey man, if you can find a chair, be my guest. And I found that one of the most hardest topics that women have to deal with is self-love, care, self-esteem, and identity. So going back to what I want you to really think about, like really think about this. If I stripped away everything, your title, your relationship, your aesthetic, your responsibilities, who are you? And this is not about what you do. It's who are you when no one needs you. So for me, I'm a mother, I'm a caregiver, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a hypnotherapist, and I'm up everywhere, right? But what really, really gets me, I think what I learned last year is if life was to strip that away, who are you? And for a very long time, this is where I became really stagnant. Like I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And I felt like sort of lost. But what I realized was like I was walking on a red carpet and then God goes, I'm going to remove this carpet now. Let me see what you have to stand on. So who are you when no one needs you? Because I've noticed something, especially with women. Obviously, I work with predominantly women, but men deal with it too. But I'm talking to the women here. We build our entire identity around being needed. I'm the strong one. I'm the responsible one. I'm the patient one. I'm the one that holds it all together. And then what happens? One day, nobody claps, nobody thanks you, and nobody notices. And you're standing there like, wait, who am I without all of that? And guess what happens? Resent. So you hold your whole worth around holding it all together, and then whatever you're holding collapses. Who are you without that? And self-worth, like without the Pinterest quotes, because real self-worth is, I know I'm that girl. See that difference? You see, self-worth is what you tolerate. It's what you accept. It's what you explain away. And it's what you say, I'm fine, when you're absolutely not fine. And I say this as your friend and also your unofficial therapist, if you haven't walked from a door. The way people treat you is usually a reflection of what you believe you deserve. I seen a quote the other day and I was like, ooh. People say, there's a quote that this lady says, I can tell a lot about your self-worth from the partner that you choose. And I was like, what? Shooketh. She can tell a lot about what you think about yourself from the partner that you choose. And who you choose is what you think that you deserve. I'm not talking about what they did to you. I'm talking about who they are as a person. If they're a nice person, if they're a kind person, if they're a strong person, that's ultimately, because we tend to trying to fill in our insecurities, but also we tend to fall in love with what's familiar. Yeah, I hate it. But deep down, you believe I have to earn love, I have to prove my worth, and I have to be useful to be worthy. And then what happens is you overextend, you overgive, you overperform, and then you eventually say you're burnt out. No, babe, you're just over-identifying with performance, not your core value. So I had a question on one of my, because whenever I do one of these podcasts, I'm like, I wonder what my my listeners and my viewers and my followers want to listen to, because your girl can talk a house down. Give me any topic and I can just fly with that. And one of them was like self-identity, relationships, and one really got me. It says, can you explain the psychology behind people pleasing? And I was like, oh, let me just slip this in here because it's along the same lines. People pleasing comes from childhood. So as a child, I actually believe it carries out into adulthood. When I did my child psychology diploma, I explained, like, we're going through the child's need for belonging. A child needs to belong in order for them to feel needed, like feel like safe. Okay. So what happens is, because we want to belong, we shapeshift, right? We become a chameleon. We find, who accepts us, and we try and see who likes other things, and like we want to find friends, so we got to find other people like us. It's especially hard if you're like a quirky person like me. Your girl likes Pokemon at 33 years old. It is what it is. When you were a kid, Pokemon was okay. Like, it's pretty normal when I was a kid, for example. But let's say, for example, you're into like anime and no one's into anime. Actually, it's actually really weird if you're not into anime now, because K-pop has taken the world by storm. But back when I was probably in my teens, if you watched anime, you were a weirdo. And I finished high school in like 2010. Yeah, I'm revealing my age today. Funny. Yay. Going back to the psychology behind people pleasing, it's not people pleasing. It came from your need for belonging. You wanted to belong, whether in culture, whether in society, whether anywhere. You wanted to belong. So either you conformed or you stood out. And most of the time, you conformed. So in order for you to get, I don't know about you, but like sometimes, like you just want people to like you. And there's nothing wrong with that. So imagine a young kid starting school, you want people to like you, so you conform. And that carries out in our behavior. And what we do in our behavior eventually becomes our identity. When we get to the end of high school and we're figuring out what we want to do next, this is where young women and men spread out their wings and like are about to soar into the next part of their life. And that can be really scary. If you are a people pleaser, this can be really uncomfortable for you, because it means that you have to trust within your own instincts, have to follow through with what you want and go against the grain, because it's your career. It's your study. It's all about you. And this is where people go, your teen, like your high school friends won't be your friends forever. It's true, because you're no longer forced to conform. Because you went from grade 7 to grade 12 with somewhat of the same kind of friendship group. If you're like me, I had everyone. Everyone was my friend. Like, I was like, one day I want to talk to these people. One day I want to talk to these people. And just like that, I couldn't stick to one person. I got bored. ADHD, undiagnosed, who knows? So I found that really boring. So I didn't conform. I was okay with standing out. And I used to drive my mom absolutely up the wall. She's like, well, you don't have any friends. Like, yeah, but everyone's my friend. And I was okay with that. So going back to the sense of belonging, the psychology behind people pleasing comes from the need for belonging. But as we get older, we have to realize that people are not going to like us. And that's okay. You're not going to die if someone doesn't like you. Let me say that again. I'm like making like, the people with social anxiety really, really have their anxiety. No one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. The world doesn't revolve around you, and you're not that special. No one cares. You're not going to die if someone judges you. You're not going to die if someone gives you a bad look. No, you don't know what people are thinking. You're not a mind reader. Okay? You don't even know how to read your own mind, let alone someone else's mind. And 9 times out of 10, if someone gives you a dirty look, it's probably because they remembered that they, they touched that gooey part of the dishes. When you're doing the dishes and you touch gooey stuff. No one cares. So the psychology behind people pleasing comes from the need for belonging. And no, you don't know what people think. Relax. Take a step back. And neither can you control it. Look, I'm in the limelight. I'm in the social media limelight. Lucky me. And a lot of that comes with unsolicited, unbothered, really weird comments. I get people commenting on my shoe all the time. People think that they know me, but really they don't. How do I filter it out? I just don't care. I honestly, I just don't care. It makes me laugh. Me and my husband joke about it. I'm like, just look at these comments. It's so stupid. This person thinks they know me. Little do they know. So going back to the people pleasing, a lot of people pleasers actually came from being parent pleasers. Eldest child syndrome, where are you? Hello, eldest daughter. I'm calling you out. So you identified with performance. Okay? I should do this because I'm the eldest daughter. I should do this because I'm the eldest son. And you carry this out. And then what happens is you prioritize parents over your spouse and your family. And then that causes friction. Right? Like, it comes from so many different angles. You want to belong, so you associate belonging with performance. And if you don't do this for someone, then you don't belong. And that's where your worth is tied to your performance. So when you stop doing what you think they need you to do, you feel lost. And when you feel lost, you're like, if I stop doing this, they're not going to love me. Because you've tied belonging and love with performance. And Islam actually protects us from this if we understand it properly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say the most productive of you are the most honored. He just honored the children of Adam, period. Your worth is not fluctuating based on how well you clean your house, or how calm your kids are, or how spiritual your Ramadan looked. But we act like it, right? We act like the whole world's crashing down. I was watching a video this morning, subhanAllah, and I was like, save. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took 6 days to create this entire earth. 6 days. But he took 9 months to create you. He called you his greatest creation. Did you hear that? Yeah. Let that sink in. I'm not even going to give you talk about that. Let's talk about comparison, because it is the silent identity thief. Because this one is actually ruining people really, really quietly. You're fine. You're actually fine until you open Instagram. And then suddenly you're behind, you're failing, you're not doing enough, your marriage isn't soft enough, your body isn't snatched enough, your business isn't scaling fast enough, your iman isn't glowing enough. It just takes 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And comparison is so disrespectful to your own qadr. Like, imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote your entire lifetime with precision and care and delicacy. And you're like, can I have hers instead? Excuse me? Like, imagine I made you the most nicest banquet and you're a guest at my house. And then, I made you a banquet. I welcomed you. I made it specifically around what you like. And imagine you go, but I saw on Instagram, so-and-so made this better. Excuse me? It's wild, right? And psychologically, comparison makes your brain think that you're unsafe because it triggers this primitive ranking system. Am I ahead? Or am I behind? What is it? And I think we're going to talk about the truth about it out loud. You don't want their life. You want the feeling you assume comes with their life. Security, validation, and peace. What is wild to me? Where people think that everything I have came easy. Girl, go back to episode 1 of this podcast, please. And just brush up on your knowledge. No. You just assume people just have it easy. No one has it easy. I had this young lady come into my office maybe 3 years ago. The most absolutely beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. Long, beautiful, lush black hair. She came with her 2 children and her children were so well behaved in the pram. I was like, oh my God, she got this down pat. Look at me assuming, right? And she was one of these clients where they didn't have a consultation before. We didn't have a chat before. We didn't have a chance to literally, I was like, come in. Okay. It was when I was still operating out of my house before the clinic. I was like assuming, and she came with a really nice car. She was really well put together. And then she sat down. I'm like, this guy has it all going on. What can I help you with? And then she sat down and told me, I need you to tell me what's wrong with me. I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Sorry? She said, my husband's cheating on me and I need you to tell me how I can fix it. I was like, have you seen the mirror? Turn around, babe. Look at the mirror. And I was like, because I was assuming, right? We do it subconsciously. We do, like, assuming like she has it all going on, she had children, not realizing she was in an abusive relationship. And the reason why her children were so quiet was because their father wouldn't even let them go without screaming and yelling and fighting and bringing it, like almost burning the house down. You're chasing a feeling, not their reality. And what you're doing is you're abandoning your own lane while you're doing it. It's like saying, I don't want this. It's not for me. Comparison really is an identity thief. You are robbing yourself of your potential because imagine standing in like side by side with your neighbor, and you've been with this neighbor so long, you do everything together and your houses are side by side. And then I was like, I want my grass to grow, but I'm going to go water the neighbor's grass. And you forget yours. What happens? The grass isn't going to grow on your side, it's going to grow on the neighbor's side. That's what comparison does. And then you end up losing because it's not yours in the first place, because it's not in your control. You see, going back to losing ourselves and identity, we don't lose ourselves randomly. We adapt, right? We adapt to being the good daughter, the supportive wife, the reliable friend, the strong one, the fixer. And we adapt so well. And then we forget what's authentic. And then what happens? Motherhood happens, or divorce happens, or burnout happens, or spiritual guilt creeps in. And then the whole thing shifts. Okay? And then suddenly you're like, I don't even recognize myself anymore. And instead of being curious about that, we panic. Like, we try to go back to who we were at 22. As a hypnotherapist, I get women in here all the time saying, I just want to be who I used to be. And I've heard it so many times. And the first thing that comes out of my mouth, I'm sorry, babe, she's gone. And then they start crying thinking that I'm telling them they're broken. No. You're trying to go back to who you were at 22. But maybe, just maybe, that version of you just expired. We are living, changing, adapting things. Like, go look at neuroscience. While I'm talking to you on this podcast, you're listening, right? Your brain is wiring and firing, making new connections. You're having light bulb moments. It is literally your brain healing itself. It's your brain changing and altering just by listening. So whenever we go through a new calamity, it's because the calamity is going to force us to change, to adapt, to move, to grow. And that means the version of you before that calamity, it has expired. You're not who you used to be, and then the calamity happens, and you're not who you're going to be. There's a little bit of a jump. There's a lesson that we need to learn there. And that's what I help with. You see, Islam actually teaches us that hearts turn. Like even the dua, right? Oh, turner of hearts. Hearts turn. You're not supposed to stay the same forever. But yet we're scared of our own evolution. We're literally Pokemons, evolving rapidly all the time. There was even a study done on a man who had a brain tumor removed out of his brain. He grew that part back by neuroplasticity. But yeah, when everything does fall apart, that's a season. Nothing feels stable. Your self-worth is shaky. You compare yourself constantly, and you don't know what you want. And your relationship isn't what you imagined. Like your plans didn't work, and then you eventually feel just lost. What happens then? But what if you're not lost? What if you're purposely being detached? Purposely. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes the things that built your identity around because you made them your anchor. And he's like, no, I'm your anchor. And that hurts. Because if your identity was, I'm chosen, I'm needed, I'm admired, I'm impressive, and that collapses, you're going to feel empty. But sometimes that emptiness isn't actually emptiness. It's space. Space to build, space to grow, space to become whoever you want to be. It's a recalibration. It's a reroute. It's not a dead end. It's like my husband and my kids, we try and find new beaches, like little mini beaches. And sometimes, like no through roads or road, like, I don't know if you're from overseas, like I'll explain to you no through roads is basically like it's like a cul-de-sac. It looks like a no through road, but We just park the car there and then we walk around on the coast, and we find these lovely, amazing, brand new like little spaces of nature and next to the beach, and we have a picnic. Sometimes emptiness is space, and it's that space that you can rebuild properly. Go back online, go back and look at your goals, go back and look at what you want to do. And sometimes we say, oh my God, identity crisis, but we're just tired. No, you don't need to move to Bali, although that was really cool. No, you don't need a rebrand. No, you don't need to delete your whole life. You just need sleep and boundaries and less scrolling. Maybe you need more solaire, with presence this time, more honest conversations. You don't need a dramatic reinvention, because we're so dramatic sometimes. We just need to realign with who you are, and you don't have to go overseas to do that. So how do you actually find yourself again? This is the part that really matters. You don't find yourself by thinking, you find yourself by choosing. Small choices, saying no, resting without explanation, not overperforming, praying consistently, even when you don't feel spiritual, and then stopping yourself mid-comparison. Identity is built through repetition. You build it through behavior. And the more your identity is anchored of being a servant of Allah, not in being admired by people, the more stable you will feel. Because people change, and your roles change, and your bodies change, and your timelines change. But what about your relationship with Allah? That's consistent. It's grounding. So if you feel lost right now, you're probably not broken. You're probably shedding. And sometimes shedding feels ugly before it starts to feel powerful. Your worth is not negotiable. Your timeline is not behind. You're not weak for evolving. You're just in transition. And transition feels like chaos before it actually feels like clarity. I'll leave you with that.